What if your IT budget didn't just keep the lights on, but basically became one of the company's biggest growth engines? Welcome to Industry Ignited, the podcast where we spotlight leaders who turn complex challenges into competitive advantage. I'm your host, Dr. Leeanne Aguilar, and today I'm joined by Brie Bustos, Chief Information Officer at CCMC. Brie is a seasoned IT executive known for scaling infrastructure, leading cybersecurity programs, and aligning technology with business value across PE-backed environments, M&A integrations, and enterprise SaaS rollouts. She's also an outdoor entrepreneur, teaching women's mountain biking and leading backcountry ski adventures in Colorado. Brie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Leanne, for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I'm excited to learn all about your adventures today. We talked a little bit about everything you have going on before the show. And I know you've mentioned that you said you fell into IT. What was the moment you realized this could be your life's work, not just a college internship?
I did. Definitely, IT found me. I did not find it. And that moment came on the very first day as a college intern. I was working for the IT director of a large energy firm, and he simply said, "Here, go set up your computer." And I'm going to age myself a little bit here, but he handed me an NT4 disk and said, "Have at it." And I had never done anything like that before. I was not in college for computer science or anything of that nature at that point. But as I worked through the process, I just realized how much I really enjoyed it. So what initially felt really intimidating for me at that time quickly became an exciting intellectual challenge. And by the time that computer was up and running, I was completely hooked. So solving something complex and creating something functional, it was just incredibly rewarding for me. And I knew from that day on, IT was it.
Yeah. It's amazing how that happens sometimes. I know it's like something finds you. And it's like me with marketing. I hadn't even really considered marketing. It's like I didn't even know what it was really. And you find yourself into like you had mentioned, you're thrown into a situation like, oh, this is super cool. And now, it becomes a career. Two decades into energy and then into archaeology and now property management. What carried across industries and what didn't?
I would say that was one of my biggest fears when deciding to change industries, especially after 20 years in energy. I was really worried that my skill set wouldn't translate. And what I found out was the technology carried over, but the terminology didn't. So the tools translated, but the peoples and processes took patience to learn. And so what I quickly discovered is that technology is transferable. The technical foundation, the infrastructure, the cybersecurity, the data management, even the policies and some of those processes, those all carried over pretty seamlessly. But what didn't translate easily for me were the business processes. Each industry has its own language and priorities. So success depended on deep diving into the business and understanding how it worked so that I could ensure technology mapped directly to its processes and goals. And that's what drives that meaningful impact across each industry.
Yeah. And so when you entered a new industry, like what would be your approach? How would you go about learning like the jargon and the,
Sure.
important data points even, right?
Absolutely. So, when moving into a new industry, I've done it now twice. I think speed matters, but so does depth. So you can't make these meaningful technology decisions without first understanding the business itself. So for me, that meant partnership. It meant partnering with the business. So I like to spend time with mid and high level leaders to understand their pain points, what's working, what isn't, and where technology can help. And then one of those key questions that I like to ask is who on your team has the most complaints? Those are
Mhm.
often the people who see where the real friction points and are willing to discuss it. But that doesn't mean you have to kind of forget the quiet workers who see issues but may not feel comfortable speaking with it. So I think there's a balance in talking to as many team members as possible during kind of initial meetings and spin up really in those first couple weeks that I take on a role. And then by the second week, those conversations start revealing patterns. And those patterns are what you can build on, from business process to pain points to really start integrating the technology changes into some of those business processes and facilitating that change. It really comes down to curiosity. It's how you make informed, impactful decisions quickly. And then the final piece of it is your team matters. Like in those first few weeks, I'm also evaluating whether we have the right people and skills to deliver on the technology solutions that we've discovered through there. So I think for me, curiosity builds trust, but that trust builds speed.
Yeah. I like that a lot, right? And talking to everybody on the team and really learning, what their issues are and how you can best support them in their roles and their functions. And like you said, developing those relationships, I think early on can really help facilitate
And
that.
communication, communication,
Mhm.
communication, communication. I like to say communication times 10. And that goes both ways. The more you communicate with your team members, the more they feel willing to come back and communicate with you.
Yeah. Now, what's one leadership lesson you took from small company ownership, P environments that you still use as a CIO today?
I would say that the biggest leadership lesson that I've taken from the smaller, fast moving environments is the absolute importance of partnership with business. And that's especially true with my role here at CCMC. So, in that environment and all these environments, really, in any organization, there's no room for silos. And I think historically that's been an issue where technology has been siloed from the business. But technology can't operate as a separate function anymore. So success depends on how well you collaborate with the business to solve problems, not just deliver technical solutions. So that experience alone has helped shape how I lead today. IT should be a strategic partner, and we should be continuing to strive for that. Really deeply integrating into business conversations, driving innovation, efficiency, and organizational strength. So when technology and business leaders are aligned, you're not just implementing systems, you're enabling that transformation that really all businesses need at this point. So the spirit of collaboration and shared accountability is what makes the technology truly impactful.
Yeah. So I guess it would start with strategy then, making sure you're all on the same page. And then, like you said, it's constant communication throughout the process. Now you're modernizing the CCMC's stack and resident facing experience. What must be true in the foundation before any AI or advanced automation can succeed?
Oh, I love this question because we live it all day, every day at this point. I would say, without question, the foundation has to be strong. And with that starts data. And data is the bedrock of any advanced initiative. So I like to think of it as the data architecture and, as your house, the structural integrity that supports everything that we're building. So if that architecture isn't sound, then nothing advanced on top of it will hold. So, and the simple truth, and this has been through every really technology rollout forever. Bad data in means bad data out. So if that foundational data layer isn't clean, consistent, and well governed, every AI tool that we're trying to do, every automation initiative that we're trying to get through is going to struggle to deliver those meaningful results that we really need to continue to be impactful. So here at CCMC, as we're modernizing the tech stack and reviewing data across more than 260 different communities, that's 260 different data sets,
Wow.
260 different really unique businesses. It's the perfect time to clean up that data. It's perfect time to refine our business processes and ensure governance and quality controls in place. Because when that foundation is solid, the AI is powerful. It's not risky any longer, and because it's built on data you can trust. So when you have that trustworthy data, it doesn't just become a buzzword anymore. It starts to become that real world innovation that we are all striving for. So once you trust the data, all the rest of it kind of falls into place.
Yeah. And that's an important point. Like, as you mentioned, that a company is only as good as its data. So how do you tackle data quality and governance so modernization actually moves the needle?
Right. So I think, as I mentioned earlier, this modernization effort that we're doing now is the perfect opportunity to strengthen those foundations. So we just historically, we've been on our current ERP system for only 3 years, which is both good and bad, but it was implemented very, very quickly to meet those immediate needs. But we didn't necessarily have the functions or the business processes in place to ensure that data validation and that data integrity. So now, as we're laying on those new functionalities, we're reinforcing the structure to ensure the proper governance and quality controls. So we're establishing clear data ownership and accountability. We're defining the standards for accuracy, and we're embedding data cleanup, validation, and auditing into every single one of these modernization projects we're doing. So the goal is simple. When we're modernizing, we're not just upgrading the technology, we're improving the reliability of the information that drives those decisions.
Okay. And you mentioned there are like 260 different
We have so the way that
properties.
CCMC works, CCMC itself is a what we consider a large scale property management firm. So we manage large scale HOAs. So those are communities that have more than 1,000 homes and have really unique needs. So they have on site property managers. So we have a handful of communities that have up to 200, or excuse me, 20,000 homes. Like these are almost small cities. And
Wow.
so they have an entire infrastructure of people that work there, from pool attendants all the way to community managers, communications folks, T folks. They all sit on site and help these communities function. And so each one of those, and HOAs are nonprofits. So the nonprofit itself is there to manage the money, the financials. Well, we come in and layer on top of that and help them manage all of that with our own people, time, technology, and resources. So it is 260 very unique, different
Wow.
nonprofits that we manage.
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, so some of the data is going to overlap and be consistent and the
Mhm.
same, and others you're going to have to,
Completely
customize and
unique.
work in. Yeah, it's going to be unique. So how do you go about that?
And so right now, one of our biggest modernization initiatives that we're doing is we're creating a new experience for our residents and our community members and our board members so that they have one pane of glass to log in, to look at their financials for the board members and our community managers. And our residents have one place to log in to pay their bill, to see what the community pool hours, to get their, what are their paint colors, just kind of common questions that come up. And then all the way to the more advanced where they, pickleball courts and they can reserve the court. Or we've got a lot of active adult communities, which is wonderful because some of these communities have over 200 clubs. And so they can log in to an app or a web page, whatever they feel most comfortable with. Or if they still don't feel comfortable with computers, they can call one of our community managers and they can get access to all those different clubs and activities, amenities, and getting that all from one pane of glass. So every single one of those is unique and different
Hmm.
based on the community's needs. So we go in and we attack it project by project. And so it's not
Okay.
just IT. We also work directly with our business. So we have got a VP of resident experience. And so we're partnering directly with those operations teams as well to ensure that we're hearing those voices, and the operations teams, the teams that live it every single day, are making sure that they're communicating back to us those needs. And so it's a 100% collaborative effort from
Right.
all the way from the residents all back to the back office in IT.
Okay, that's super fun, it sounds
It
like.
is. It really is. Yes. It's a
Yeah.
lot of moving
Yeah.
parts, but it was a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
And those are like, so we're talking about all the inputs. What about the outputs on the other side? Let's say like the metrics and the information that you're wanting to collect to inform the properties going forward to make decisions. What kind of things are you collecting or putting into place to
A
inform?
lot of times those are similar. They're the same reports need to be spit out, a P&L report, a financials report, things like that. We're trying to put those at the fingertips of the boards that have to make these decisions quickly. And so a big piece of that is also our data initiative, data cleanup initiative. We want to ensure that our community financial teams are able to create those reports quickly, place them on our experience so that our board members can get in there and take the questions, take the answers, get the data that they need.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's running a business. There's similar budgeting financial reports that every single business needs to see to make decisions.
Right. Yeah. That's a really, really good point. Yeah. Because they are making decisions. It is a business and it
Yeah.
just, right. Yeah. Now, cybersecurity in a mid-sized, highly distributed organization is, something to consider. What controls and operating rhythms give you the best risk reduction per dollar?
So for most of my career, I have worked in highly regulated environments. So in energy, we had NIST, NERC and IEC standards that we had to adhere to. In archaeology, we had DoD products or projects. So we had to start looking through those CMMC compliance. And so those are heavily regulated industry controls that you have to adhere to. And so you have to work on that. Here at CCMC, we don't have those same mandates. And we've been very intentional about structuring our technology ecosystem to stay that way. So we don't store sensitive PII data. We're not collecting client financial data. We're not collecting residents' financial data. Instead, we're partnering with those PCI and SOC 2 compliant vendors who handle that data securely for us. So that's been one of our biggest strategies for risk reduction is a strong vendor governance. We partner only with vendors who have that mature security posture and audit controls. And then internally, I'd say our best ROI comes from visibility and consistent. We make sure that we stay consistent with our technology. So we are a Microsoft shop. So we rely on some of those integrated tools and layer in on top where needed. So our kind of operating rhythm centers around continuous monitoring and regular reviews. So security for us isn't an annual exercise. It's just a daily discipline that we do with the controls that we've put into place.
Okay. Right. That makes sense. And so it just comes down to your partnerships and just kind of baking it in. It's something that's integrated and always top of mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, residents and community managers want simple, fast, and secure. What are your non-negotiables for UX on the front end?
I love this question because it's one that we are asking ourselves every single day as we're building out our new platform. But you already answered some of that for me. Simple, fast, and secure are absolutely our non-negotiables. But for us, there's another, and that was unification. We want one platform where residents, community managers, and board members can log in and have everything they need at their fingertips, which historically we haven't had. So that's been our North Star throughout this design. One login, one experience, one platform, because I think complexity kills adoption. And so as we're thinking through this UX and our new rollout, it's top of mind for us. So in today's world, it has to be mobile first. So that's another layer that we're putting on top of it. No one goes anywhere without their phone anymore. So we want a seamless, responsive mobile experience first, just because it's expected of us at this point. We want the technology to feel invisible, effortless, unified, and secured, so where communities can focus on living and not logging in.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. But it's true though. People want a seamless experience. They don't want to have to think about using the technology. They just want it intuitive so they can pick up their phone and just like intuitively go where they want to go to find the information they're looking for. And it should be easy, understandable, and not complicated. Many CEOs still see IT as a cost center. What metrics or outcomes have helped you reframe IT as a revenue and resilience driver?
If I'm being completely honest, I don't think I've crossed that golden bridge quite yet, but I'd say we're getting there. I think the first step is alignment. When technology supports business goals and enhances the customer experience, it stops being a cost and starts being a growth driver. And so one of the key metrics that we're tracking would be adoption rate. It's how well are residents and teams engaging with the new tools and the new processes that we're rolling out, because high adoption means creating value and efficiency. But we also track responsiveness. And this one's a big one for us as well, because we are highly customer service driven. So how quickly can we resolve issues and deliver new solutions? And that agility directly translates into operational strength. So over time, I think those metrics evolve into a business impact where we can get there, but we're still working on it.
Yeah. And so are you integrating AI into the platform?
So we are, but I think my CEO is wonderful, and she was the one who put the brakes on it and said, "Hey, we're not ready. Our data's not ready, and we want to make sure that we have that foundation set before we start layering on. I want your focus on this piece, and then we can start doing AI." And so bless her for that. But us being technology folks, we are absolutely building AI into our platform.
Yeah.
I think we cannot not do it. So it's certainly not our priority as we're thinking through the project plan and the rollouts and the roadmaps, but it is definitely baked in.
Right, baked in, and or at least where it's could be easily expanded into AI.
Right.
What do you see the benefits of AI? What is it going to provide?
So I think for us, our kind of like biggest low risk AI initiative is going to be the use of AI, like AI driven assistance. So chatbots for our residents in the resident experience, and then AI assistants for our community managers. So AI chatbots for just quick things, right? Like you want to log into your app or your website and say, what are my paint colors? And that gives you the approved paint colors for your community, but also gives you a link to where you can buy them. So you can get them at Sherwin-Williams, whatever.
Cool.
Right.
Yeah.
So we can start baking some of that into it. So it just makes it easy to make that seamless experience for somebody. But then when it comes to the community managers, we're actually embedding it into their platform as well. So it's trained only on their community's data. So it allows them to ask the questions of, show me the work orders for this week, summarize this week's requests, really get that instant insight to what's happening that's trained only on their data alone for their community, which I think is just really powerful for them.
Right. Yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
it's low cost, it's low risk, it's high value. And this is where that data integrity and that data governance comes in, because if that data is not correct, then we're not answering the right answer. Right. So,
yeah. And specific to their community.
correct.
Yeah, correct and specific to their communities, so they can make those decisions, or the information is readily available for those specific residents.
Yeah, so we're excited about it. So like I said, she put the pause on us, but we're
we're working it in.
We kind of call it our little skunk works project in the back.
There you go. Well, I'm sure it'll ultimately be much more beneficial that way. Now, you've worked closely with boards and private equity. What do PE sponsors really want from the CIO in year one?
I think the short answer is simple. They want results. They want measurable progress and stability, visible wins, no surprises, and no security incidents. So, but I think the deeper answer is also about alignment and unity. And that first year, they're watching to see if the CEO truly understands the business. If they're understanding where the pain points are and determining how technology can solve them efficiently. But I think they're also looking for strategic foresight. I think, especially in the PE environments where growth often comes through acquisition, that means unifying systems and creating a cohesive, scalable platform that's attractive at exit, right? So they want confidence that technology is increasing enterprise value, not just keeping the operations running, but kind of setting the stage for long-term success, especially at exit, because that's a
Yeah.
more attractive package.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I mean, M&A and ERP, CRM deployments can drain teams. How do you structure change management so day-to-day operations don't break?
Right. It's challenging. There's absolutely no way around that. Like your big challenge is an ERP rollout, an interface change, a new acquisition have real operational impact, especially on shared services like IT, HR, really departments that can't kind of operate individually. So I think the key is having the right structure and resources from day one. So a dedicated change management function that's not just project management, and it can't be IT led alone. That change management function needs to incorporate business, finance, and operations leaders that they're actively engaged and are accountable for the outcome. And then, like I said before, communication times 10. I think communication is critical. It's regular updates, it's the feedback loops, it's transparency throughout all the processes and all the changes. And then I think the last and greatest thing that you can possibly have is a leadership that is able to pause when needed, that they have the strength to say, something's not ready. We got to stop. We need to pause. We need to regroup and we need to protect our business because
Right.
it's change management isn't just about moving fast. It's about moving right. And so I think if there's an understanding throughout the leadership team, that starts to filter down to the rest of the organization and makes change a little bit easier.
Right. Well, yeah, because if you don't have those breaks in place, I mean, things can break, right?
I
I
mean, you're
mean,
just pushing forward bad. Like it's not.
yeah, yeah, no, that makes sense. Talent and operating model, like where do you draw the line between in-house expertise and strategic partners? And how do you keep remote teams high trust and high velocity? High
Yeah.
velocity?
So, kind of two separate thought tracks, but I think it really depends on value proposition in the project. So, when we're talking about in-house expertise or strategic partners, for things like M&A, especially when you've got a large or even a small acquisition or integrations that are coming in or changes, it doesn't always make sense to hire a full-time staff or even temporary staff on that. So, we like to take each one of those projects individually and see what makes the most sense. So, strategic partners might make sense when it comes to an acquisition and integration for that, or strategic partners might make sense as we're trying to really dive into a new rollout to where those pain points might be and where the efficiencies might lie. But I think for core technology functions, the areas that define our success and our culture as a company, in-house expertise is critical. I think those are the people that carry the institutional knowledge and understand the heartbeat of the company. And then for remote teams, I think it comes down again, communication, but also engagement. We
Mhm.
maintain consistent rhythms. I do one on ones, we do team meetings, we have transparent priorities. Then all of that kind of helps create alignment with our team. And then on the other side of that is autonomy. I think trust grows autonomy. So giving people ownership without micromanaging them. And we're just understanding when communication is strong and everyone knows the why, teams stay in high trust and high velocity no matter where they're located.
Mhm. Right. Are most of your team members remote? Do you
I
work mostly in a
I
remote?
well, I work remote. So
Yeah.
all of my team members are remote for me. But we are pretty spread about. Yep.
Uh-huh.
I would say that we do have our highest presence in our corporate office in Scottsdale. But I don't want to limit myself or my team to a location. If the best talent that we're going to get is remote, I want to make sure that we're offering that.
Right. And so you're more focused on results. It's very results oriented, deadline oriented. If something comes up, if there is an issue, how do you work through that with people when they are remote?
I guess it depends on the issue, right? A lot of times it's communication. It's making sure that my quote unquote door is always open so that you can come talk to me. So having that trust with the team to feel like they can always communicate with me, I think is important. But then it comes down to meetings determining what the problem is and how we move forward. And I do travel quite a bit. So I will travel
Mhm.
on site if we need to. We call them on-site offsites.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there is that in-person collaborative part of it too, as well. Yeah, I know. Because I find that, I mean, with developing relationships, it is different. I mean, remote versus in person. There's so much more, I mean, more layers of depth that you can get communication wise
Right.
in person. So at least establishing that at some point, right? That in
Right.
person
Right.
relationship does, I think, go further in
And
developing. Yeah.
I'd advocate for kind of that hybrid work environment as well, because like you said, there you get to see the intricacies of people when you work directly with them on site. But then working remotely, you get that more dedicated solo time to be able to focus on your work as well.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. And so we spoke a little bit about IT and AI in the IT and the systems development before. What does an AI ready checklist look like for a mid-market organization like data security skills policy?
Yeah. So I would say for mid market, the checklist comes down to the foundations. And of course, we're going to start out with data. It has to be clean, well governed, and secure. If the data layer isn't sound, any AI initiative is going to struggle. We've already talked about that a little bit. But I think the second would be security and infrastructure. You need the right infrastructure, integrations, and access controls to support AI safely. And then we get into skills and enablement. Like we have to train your people as much as you train your AI. Employees need to know how to use the AI tools effectively and responsibly and ethically. And then
Right,
finally, governance and policy, establishing clear guidelines on ethical considerations, usage, security, and accountability. Because when you're combining that strong data or secure infrastructure, strong data, skilled users, and governance, that's when you get that full foundation where AI can thrive.
yeah. So what does training look like in an environment that is so quickly changing? Yeah, I mean, how do you keep up on that?
Well, technology tools. A lot of times we do use learning management tools. We do use kind of touch points in a lot of areas. So either quick tips on our weekly framework emails that go out, or how-to guides into a Teams channel, or sent out monthly during cybersecurity awareness training. Things to that nature. I think there's lots of areas where you can start to kind of just poke and get little information, little nuggets out there, plant seeds,
Yeah.
and then kind of self-service from there.
Yeah, right. I mean, there are just so many options and they all
Yeah.
have their pros and cons and they're
Yeah.
it's like no. Now women are still underrepresented in IT leadership. What pragmatic advice would you give to a woman aiming for the CIO seat?
Sure. This one's very, very close to my heart. My biggest advice is simple: don't stop. I think this path takes grit, resilience, and a belief in your own ability. And so keep learning, keep growing, keep trusting your intuition, and keep asking for what you've earned. Like if you want the seat, say it out loud and don't wait for permission. And I think the other big piece is networking. I think it's very easy to get so busy leading or so busy in our day to day work that you stop showing up. And I think those connections matter. There are so many lunch and learns out there, or evening kind of cocktails to learn about a new technology, or podcasts you can go listen to. And so, my advice is really build your network. Before joining CCMC, I was actually on what I called a planned, unplanned sabbatical, and I had about 6 months where I wasn't working, and it was wonderful. And during that time, that really gave me the space to attend events again, to reconnect
Hmm.
with my peers, and rediscover just how powerful that visibility can be. And so it was one of those like, oh, I can't stop doing this either at this
Yeah.
point. And so build your network, find your advocates, and show up. It's like even when it's inconvenient, like you just have to make it happen. And because I think every connection matters. And then lastly, when you do get that seat, hold that door open for the women coming behind you.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Do you mentor at all?
I really haven't had the chance to. And primarily, and this is something that kind of keeps me up at night, is that there's still not a whole lot of women in IT. And so trying to find those avenues to mentor is one of those things that I'm thinking about. Like, how can I better get to that place?
Hmm. Yeah. And I mean, talking about networking, especially when you're working virtually, what would advice be on how to develop that network of
So I think
connections?
that's where you find them in your local resources. Right
Hmm.
here in Denver alone, I'd say at least once a week. And you can find them on LinkedIn. There is a IT or a CIO meeting or an industry event, or Colorado Technology Association is wonderful here in Colorado. Find your state resources that have those connections that you can go find and just start attending. And you'd be surprised how many people will continue that conversation with you.
Right. Very cool. And that is good advice. I mean, especially coming out of COVID, I think so many people just kind of went into their shell and
Yeah.
then, stopped networking and stuff.
Well, and
But
even the
yeah.
virtual networking events are really, really solid. I think you
Uh-huh.
can learn a lot of information, you can meet a lot of people. And then it's crazy the number of times I've then reached out, like, oh, I remember working with that person. I have this specific need, and I can look them up and go contact them. And so it's great professionally as well.
Right, right. No, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Bree, it's been a fantastic conversation. Thank you for the insight and your playbook on moving these big projects forward. How can our listeners connect with you to learn more?
Great. So, yeah, no, thank you. This has been a wonderful conversation. For anyone that wants to connect with me, I'm always happy to continue a dialogue. You can definitely find me on LinkedIn, Brie Bustos, CIO at CCMC. But before we close, I also want to take a moment to spotlight a cause that does mean a lot to me. You talk about mentoring, but I want to talk about the Milan Foundation. It's where I serve
Oh,
in an
yes, please.
executive
Yes.
advisory board.
Okay.
So the Milan Foundation is a nonprofit based out of India. Well, it started in India, it's in the US now. But just a couple data points. Today, more than 600 million adolescent girls live in the global south, and too often their lives are shaped by forces beyond their control. 129 million girls are out of school globally. That's more than 1/3 of the US population.
Wow.
Every 2 seconds, a girl is forced into marriage, which means that within this conversation, about 1,800 girls have become child brides. And girls aged 10 to 19 are more likely than any other demographic to face domestic violence, mental health challenges, and digital exclusion. But when girls can be educated, healthy, and empowered, everything changes. So the Milan's Girl Icon program helps adolescent girls in India build leadership, agency, and confidence so that they can stay in school and become change makers within their own communities. So over 100,000 girls have already gone through the Girl Icon program, and 94% of those have continued their education compared to 39% in other groups.
Wow.
Um, so really, go check them out.
Yeah, yeah. No, so how
Org.
can our
So MILAAN Foundation.org. It's really it's been just life-changing for me to be a part of.
wow, no, thank you for sharing that. And how can people be involved? What can they actually do?
Donations, absolutely. Donations are the biggest help. A $30 donation can empower one girl's journey, and a donation of $600 can empower an entire cohort of girls of
Wow.
20 to transform an entire village.
Yeah. So please, and what was the website again?
MilanFoundation.org. It's MILAAN Foundation.org.
All right. Well, Bree, well, thank you for sharing that. No, I will definitely check that out. That's close to my heart as well. I used to be involved in an organization as a board member for many years who was doing something similarly, and then they kind of changed direction. But yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
And for our listeners, if you found today's conversation valuable, please follow and subscribe to Industry Ignited. And until next time, stay bold, stay curious, and keep igniting industry.